Hey guys, welcome to Unprimed episode 2. So I'm just in the process of making a combat patrol for a competition. More about that later, but I thought I'd start with a little bit about how I got into it properly. So last time we talked about how I went into the shop and just kind of chatted to some people and picked up some models. What happened after that was that I kind of fell in love with it and went back to the shop and sort of said, look, I really love the Tyranids. I'm going to buy Combat Patrol, which is kind of like a self-contained army that you can go and get the free sort of data sheets for, so you don't have to spend more money on the books. And it seemed like a really good way of me getting into it. The guy in the shop was really helpful. He said, look, actually, if you buy the starter set, you basically get the Tyranids and the Ultramarines. Yes, you need to pick up one extra unit from each one to make the full combat patrol, but you kind of get everything you need to kind of play a full game, so you can kind of practice. And actually, it worked out really well for me. So I picked one up, and this now when I checked, it was about £55 just to get the combat patrol, which is basically all of these with one extra unit. Was about 80 quid. So actually, I got way more for a lot less, and actually that tends to be how it works with Games Workshop. You know, the bigger you go, the kind of the more bang for the buck you'll get. Down here is what you can get in the book, and actually I've used this handbook with a friend of mine and we've played a couple of games from this. Anyway, when I got sort of home and really started sort of building the stuff from this pack, there was a few sort of pitfalls that I kind of fell into. And what I'm going to do today, I'm just in the process, like I said, of starting to build this combat patrol for a competition. So my local game store has had its 10-year anniversary, and what they did was one of the things is you could buy a wrapped combat patrol and basically take it home, unwrap it, and then build and paint it before Christmas for entry. So I've got about 2.5 months. Now I'm going to put the unwrapping video here, but essentially the long and short of it is I got this and I was pretty happy with it. So far I've got 2 armies. I've got the Tyranids, who I showed you last time. You can see these little guys at the back. I picked up the Champions of Slaanesh box a good few months back and have just finished painting that along with my Warhounds. So what I thought I'd do today is basically show you what comes in the box and how we go from kind of grey sprues like this to unprimed models like this, then priming it. We won't do all this today, obviously, and then to the kind of finished piece. Okay, and I'm going to tell you what to look for and bits that I kind of fell foul of as we were going through. So here's the box that I got. This is what I got to paint before Christmas, and today I'm just in the process of actually making this guy, the Captain in Gravis armour. So I'm going to sort of talk you through what you should be looking for when you're building these, or if you do decide to go combat patrol first. But essentially, when you get a box and you open it up, it's going to look something like this. Okay, there we go. Move that out of the way. And you've got sort of artwork that you can kind of copy the colour schemes from, or you can go online. And I'll show you at the end how to go and find the easy combat patrol stuff. And when you get this book and you find these sprues, first thing you're going to do is kind of open it up and have a look. And it'll tell you kind of what base sizes that each one is going to be. It can show you when you're building, you should be following the combat patrol. I've got to do that because it's part of the competition. But you don't have to. There are variants. And again, if it's got a variant assembly, it'll have a cog like that with different colours. So, you know, if you're doing the blue variant, do the blue variant. If you're doing the green variant, do the green variant. You can see here, it'll tell you what each bit means. So if there's special instructions, if it's a combat patrol assembly, build that many. And you can sort of see it will tell you all the way through, and if there's a choice of parts, or if you need to dry fit, which is kind of place it beforehand, but we'll go through all that. And then the next thing you have on this page is the kind of the sprues. So what you would do is you would find the sprue for the one you're making. So you can see A, and you can see I've started to make mine, but you would kind of find a bit and match it up, so you can sort of see the whip section there with the whip section there, so you know that this is kind of that. I can see that I've got the pack down here, so I know that these are the sprues I'm making. And when you turn over, you get something like this. So I'm going to move this out of the way. We'll have a quick look. So what we've got now is how to build it. And you can see that the Combat Patrol has a few options, and here and here I can choose to have sort of a human head or a marine kind of helmet. So I've gone for the marine helmet today. And as I've gone through, I've had to follow the Combat Patrol instructions. And you join me as I'm up here, because I've got to this part and I've made it and built it. You can see here it's got the blue. Now I'm not going to go there, so I'm going to move on to here. Okay, so currently at this point you can see kind of hopefully I've cleaned them all lined enough, so there's not too many. And I'm now down to fitting and finishing. So here we go. I've built for the Combat Patrol. I've got to find the A16, and so very simply I've got my cutters and I've got my plastic glue, and you can use either a craft knife kit, or you can choose to kind of clean the sprue up with that. Let's just finish this off now. So I'm going to go and find A16. So I find the bit that kind of is there. You can see that A16 is on here, so it'll be on the other A sprue, which is here, and you can 16 is there. And little tip, find the best angle of approach and get your cutters as close to that as you can, so you're not having to clean too much up, but you also do not want to take a chunk out of the model. So just get it so it's comfortable, and you can always clean it up a little bit if you need to. Again, turning that sprue around so I can get close. Right, there we go. Right, so that's the A16. That's that. You can see there where it's going to get fitted there. And you can see that I've got a fiddly bit now, the A17, so I'm going to find that, which is on the other one. Okay, so what I'm going to do while I'm finishing off that in the background is I'm going to show you the app. So the app is a great place to see the free codexes for the Combat Patrol. I shouldn't say codex, the actual Combat Patrol information you'll need. So click on anything there. I've clicked on an army for the Dark Angels, and I've gone into the Combat Patrol. There you can go into each of the units and see what it has, any abilities or compositions, anything you'll need to play Combat Patrol, which is slightly different. The data is slightly different to the regular data sheets. And you can get that for free on every army, all of the Combat Patrols. Again, easy access. You can see I'm kind of going through into the different Combat Patrols if an army has more than one. And you can go into the standard data sheets as well, as long as you own the codex and have put the information into the Warhammer community website with your login. But if you go into one that you don't have, like I don't have the Knights, it will be content locked for the data sheets. However, I can go and see the Combat Patrol data. So in there, you can still go into the Knights and see the Combat Patrol. And again, that's free, so you can just download the app and get going straight away. Okay, let's get back to me cleaning up the sprues. Okay, so here you can see I'm just going over with a file, making sure any of the mould lines are kind of smoothed down and dusted off. There's a particularly nasty chunk I didn't quite get out. I could have used the craft knife for. The scalpel I could have cut away. I'm now looking at where the instructions are telling me to glue and hold in place, so you can sort of see I'm going to apply the glue there, not too much, because if it spreads and gets on your fingers and then you get the glue on the plastic, then plastic tends to melt. It's what it's designed to do, but obviously you can leave your fingerprints on there, and as a beginner you will end up doing things like this or putting too much glue on. I tend to quite like the Citadel glue. It's a bit thinner. I started with the army paint one and didn't quite get on with that, but everyone likes it working in different ways. I never used to clean the lines or the sprues as I cut them, and then obviously you would prime and paint them, and as I was painting them would just notice these large chunks. And you know, if it's armour and battle damage, you can probably get away with it, but even if it's on a bit of carapace on the Tyranids, but every now and again you do sort of kick yourself and think, oh, I should have spent a little bit of time when I was cutting and sticking this together to just clean up those mould lines. You can see I'm putting my glasses on now because I'm getting to that age, and having to use tweezers for sort of the fiddlier bits. As I'm going through this, obviously I've sped this up, but you can kind of see that even now, you know, I'm a year into the hobby and things aren't quite lining up correctly. So having to kind of squeeze things together or rearrange things. The building section of it for me is good fun. I do like it, but it can be frustrating sometimes, especially if I'm only getting sort of 2 or 3 hours at maximum a couple of nights a week to do it, and I've got to build and paint. So I've got quite a few models to do in this pack, in this combat patrol, ready for the sort of thing in December at the Warhammer shop. So, you know, obviously I bought this combat patrol knowing that I would be doing that. Got lots of paints ready, as you can see in the background, and I've just finished off my Emperor's Children, so as I mentioned before, that'll be going on Armies on Parade next weekend. Right, coming towards sort of finishing this section off now, so again cutting those sprues as close as I can to the model without damaging the model, and then gives me minimal cleanup when I'm having to do the use the scalpel or the craft knife to kind of clean those things up. Trying to not put too much glue on where I need, and just kind of rearranging, pushing where I go. Now you can see here I'm actually doing a pretty decent job of checking these, much more than I have done on my old ones. And this one was a bit more fiddly. I kind of rearranged it and checked it before I put it on, but there we go. Now with these, in a minute, we'll see that I'm not going to keep the standard bases. I went on to eBay and I found some 3D printed resin bases that look like volcanic structures, because I want to do some kind of OSL lighting to create a little bit of interest. So when I've got a place, when I know it's going to do it, that's when I'm going to put that in. Yellowy red volcanic kind of lava underneath my combat patrol. So that will be ready for painting and priming, giving it a bit of interest when everything's kind of set and dried. An expressive kind of move that out ominous feel. So you can see that it can be quite fiddly, but it's incredibly lovely kind of process. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is obviously adding it to a base, the 40mm base, which is going to be one of these. So next time, because I'm planning on doing it as a lava style, I will be, but because this is resin, I can't use the plastic glue on it. So the army, so I'll sort of prime in batch, again, I'm going to put this on here, so I'm going to kind of different ways have a look at how I'm going to fix that. But that's, look at all that's for another time. The tips and tricks I learned in my first year. Thanks for joining me. I'll put a few more links. I'll do the unboxing, and next time we'll look at priming and painting and what happens to go from this guy to something more like this guy. Thanks for joining. Hope I helped. And if you've got any questions or any tips, I'm still learning massively. If I've done something very wrong, please drop it in the comments.